I bought a car for just $300 because I was broke and desperate. Everyone laughed at me. But 3 days later, armed men were hunting me. The FBI was knocking on my door, and I discovered that the rusted, old car sitting in my driveway was hiding a secret so dangerous that it nearly got me killed. My name is Ethan Parker, and this is the unbelievable story of the worst and most important purchase of my life. Before we start, join our YouTube family by subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to like this video and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. Now let's get into the story. It was a cold Saturday morning in late November when Ethan Parker stood in the back corner of a crowded auction lot just outside Dallas, Texas. The sky was gray, the air smelled like gasoline and wet asphalt, and nobody paid attention to the old silver sedan parked near the broken fence. Ethan was 32 years old, tall and lean with short dark brown hair, light stubble, tired blue eyes, and a weathered face that looked older than his age. He always wore faded blue jeans, worn brown work boots, and a dark green flannel shirt over a gray t-shirt. Life had not been easy on him. 2 years earlier, Ethan had lost everything. He had served 8 years as a firefighter in Texas. He loved his job. He loved helping people. But one terrible warehouse fire changed everything. A collapsing beam injured his back and ended his career forever. The medical bills piled up. His wife left him 6 months later. Soon after, he lost his house. Now Ethan lived in a small rented trailer outside town and worked odd jobs whenever he could find them. That morning, he had exactly $327 left in his bank account, and he desperately needed a car. The auctioneer walked past dozens of vehicles. Most sold for far more than Ethan could afford. Pickup trucks, SUVs, sports cars, all gone within minutes. Then the auctioneer stopped in front of the silver sedan. 2008 Mercury Milan, he shouted. Runs, maybe. Starts at $200. The crowd laughed. The car looked terrible. The paint was faded. The front bumper was cracked. One headlight was missing. The driver's seat was torn open. 200? Nobody answered. 200? Ethan slowly raised his hand. 200 from the gentleman in green. 250? Silence. Sold $200. After taxes and fees, Ethan paid exactly $300. As he walked toward his new car, several people laughed behind him. That thing won't make it 5 miles. Hope you enjoy walking home. Ethan ignored them. He sat behind the steering wheel and turned the key. To his surprise, the engine started immediately. Maybe today's my lucky day, he whispered. He had no idea how wrong he was. The drive home was strange. The car ran better than expected. The engine sounded smooth. The transmission shifted perfectly, but something felt wrong. At first, Ethan couldn't explain it. Then he heard it, a soft metallic sound. Clink, clink, clink. It came from somewhere behind him. He pulled over and searched the trunk. Nothing. He checked under the seats. Nothing. He looked under the hood. Nothing. Finally, he convinced himself he was imagining things. Over the next few days, Ethan used the Mercury for work. He drove to construction sites, delivered supplies, and even picked up extra shifts. But every night the sound returned. Clink, clink, clink. Always around midnight. Always from somewhere inside the car. One evening, while parked outside a grocery store, Ethan noticed something else. A black SUV was parked across the street. The driver appeared to be watching him. When Ethan looked directly at the SUV, it drove away. He tried to forget about it, but the next day the same SUV appeared again, and again. By Friday night, Ethan was certain someone was following him. He barely slept. The next morning, he decided to inspect the Mercury more carefully. He borrowed tools from his neighbor and spent hours taking apart sections of the interior. Nothing. Then he noticed something unusual. The rear passenger floor sat slightly higher than the rest. Just half an inch. Most people would never notice. But Ethan had spent years searching dangerous buildings as a firefighter. He trusted his instincts. He removed the carpet. Underneath was a welded metal panel. His heart began pounding. Who welds a hidden compartment inside a cheap family sedan? For nearly an hour, Ethan worked with a pry bar and hammer. Finally, the panel broke loose. What he saw made his blood freeze. Inside the compartment were dozens of sealed plastic packages, and beneath them, several handguns, a stack of passports, and more cash than Ethan had ever seen in his life. He stared at the hidden compartment. There had to be at least $200,000, maybe more. His breathing became shallow. He quickly covered everything back up. Then he locked every door in his trailer. His mind raced. Call the police. No. What if whoever owned this money came looking for it? Keep the money. No. That was insane. Run away. But where? Before he could decide, headlights appeared outside his window. A black SUV, the same one. Ethan's blood turned cold. Two men stepped out. Both wore dark clothing. One of them knocked on the trailer door, slowly, calmly, like he knew Ethan was inside. "Ethan Parker," a voice called. No response. "We know you bought the car." Ethan grabbed his phone. His hands shook so badly that he almost dropped it. "We just want what's ours." The doorknob rattled. Then came another voice. "If you cooperate, nobody gets hurt." Ethan's firefighter instincts took over. He grabbed his keys, slipped out the back window, and ran. He drove through the darkness with no destination in mind. The black SUV followed immediately. The chase lasted nearly 30 minutes. Ethan raced through empty highways, dirt roads, and small towns. His heart hammered against his chest. Eventually, he spotted a sheriff's station. He slammed on the brakes and ran inside. The SUV disappeared before deputies could stop it. At first, nobody believed his story. A hidden compartment. Cash. Weapons. Passports. It sounded ridiculous. Until officers searched the Mercury. Then everything changed. The sheriff himself arrived. Federal agents arrived 2 hours later. By sunrise, Ethan's old Mercury was surrounded by armed personnel. One FBI agent introduced himself. "My name is Daniel Reeves. Mr. Parker, do you have any idea what you found?" Ethan shook his head. Agent Reeves looked serious. "You accidentally purchased property belonging to one of the largest human trafficking organizations in the southern United States." The words hit Ethan like a truck. Human trafficking, the passports, the cash, the weapons. Suddenly everything made terrible sense. "You are now in danger," Reeves said quietly. The next few weeks became a nightmare. Ethan was moved into protective custody. Federal investigators questioned him daily. The criminal organization responsible for the hidden compartment had operated for years across several states. The Mercury had been used as a transport vehicle. The money represented payments. The passports belonged to victims. And Ethan had unknowingly disrupted everything. Then Agent Reeves made an unexpected request. "We need your help." Ethan stared at him. "What?" "They think you still have the money." "I'm not a cop." "No," Reeves replied. "You're a firefighter, which means you run toward danger when others run away." Ethan laughed bitterly. Not anymore. But Reeves was right. Part of Ethan still wanted to help. Part of him still believed he could save people. 3 days later, Ethan agreed. The operation was simple. A fake buyer would arrange to return the money. The criminals would show up. Federal agents would arrest them. Simple. Except nothing went according to plan. The meeting took place at an abandoned warehouse near Houston. Ethan wore a hidden microphone. Federal agents surrounded the building. At exactly midnight, 3 vehicles arrived. But instead of 2 men, there were 12, heavily armed. Agent Reeves's voice crackled through Ethan's earpiece. "Abort, get out now." Too late. One of the men recognized Ethan. "That's him." Gunfire erupted. Chaos exploded around the warehouse. Ethan ran. Bullets shattered windows. Cars crashed. People screamed. Then he heard something familiar. Fire. A fuel tank had exploded. The warehouse was burning. Everyone fled. Everyone except one person. A young girl, maybe 12 years old. She was trapped inside. For one horrifying second, Ethan froze. Then instinct took over. The same instinct that had defined his entire life. He ran into the flames. The smoke was thick. The heat was unbearable. He searched room after room. Finally, he found her. She was unconscious. Ethan picked her up and carried her through the burning building. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Debris struck his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. But he kept moving. One step, then another, then another, until suddenly, fresh air, police officers surrounded them. Someone grabbed the girl, someone grabbed Ethan, and then everything went black. He woke up in a hospital 3 days later. His shoulder was broken. He had suffered smoke inhalation. But the girl was alive, and the operation had succeeded. Federal agents arrested 23 people. More than 80 trafficking victims were rescued. The criminal organization was destroyed. Agent Reeves visited Ethan the following week. "You saved a lot of lives." Ethan smiled weakly. "I just did what I always did." Reeves handed him an envelope. Inside was a letter and a check. The federal government had awarded Ethan a substantial financial reward for his assistance, enough money to change his life forever. But that wasn't what made him emotional. It was the letter. The young girl he had rescued had written it. It said, "I don't know why you came back for me. Everyone else left. But you didn't. You saved my life. One day I want to help people like you helped me." Ethan read the letter 3 times. Then he cried. Not because of the money, not because he survived, but because for the first time in years, he remembered who he really was. 6 months later, Ethan stood outside a new building in Dallas. The sign read, Parker Recovery Center, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping survivors rebuild their lives. The young girl he had rescued attended the opening ceremony. She smiled at him. He smiled back. And for the first time since losing everything, Ethan no longer felt broken. He had bought a car for $300. But what he found inside wasn't money. It wasn't guns. It wasn't danger. He found the person he thought he had lost forever.